Hey everybody, I'm Travis.
Hey, and I'm Brandon.
And welcome to our first
annual Walking Fantasy Dead League.
It's Walking Dead Fantasy League. we just talked about
We just talked about this. Travis cut it, but I just want you to know it was a hilarious conversation.
It's side splitting. That's why I cut it. But yeah, so what we're doing is we are following the Fear the Walking Dead season right now, and we are going to be. We both picked our teams. If you missed who was on our teams, go back and I'll link the episode down here.
We're gonna link them. Lincoln verbs.
So this is our recap of episode 2.
Yeah.
And our first points. We get points now.
We get points. I get point.
You get point. So how are we gonna do this, Brandon?
All right. So I think what we should do is just first say, what do we think of this episode?
Okay. So the things I liked about this episode is things are starting to ramp up now.
Oh.
So the zombie outbreak is becoming a little bit more apparent. There's chaos in the streets.
Yeah.
And so stuff's going down. And that I like. People made some bad decisions though in this episode. Kind of things that almost any horror movie you're like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
What?
Don't go in there. Don't go into the bathroom. The lights aren't working. You might slip and fall.
Like okay, terrible things are happening. Let's all split up. Let's not tell other people what's going on.
Yeah.
Things like that. Which, by the way, we should mention. If you haven't watched the second episode, we will be spoiling things for it. So stop watching. Go watch the episode and then.
Okay, can you do that?
I'm not putting stuff up every time you point. Like,
can you do that? Just one more.
Maybe.
All right.
We'll see. There's gonna be enough graphics for me to do on this to begin with. So.
After Effects. All right. So I agree. I agree with that. The not telling people thing seems rabidly unnecessary. We did say spoiler, so I just think that like Madison, that lady, she's leaving people in the dark. They're looking for the answer.
She's keeping all those points for herself.
Show me something more.
Yeah, we talked about
something. Hoobastank. I was trying to reference Hoobastank.
We talked about Alicia,
yeah,
her daughter, like being a really smart girl,
super smart,
and Madison is treating her like a complete child. Which she is her child, but you could give her a little bit of information about what's going on instead of just totally keeping her in the dark. That bugged me a lot in the episode.
Yeah. I thought, and I've seen this in reviews, but there's a scene where like Travis drives past some cops, right? And the cops are like putting a bunch of water inside the trunk, right?
Right, yeah.
And then,
which is apparently the answer for any disaster. Is just
water.
Get as much water as you can.
It worked for Gizmo. Water is the answer.
Yeah.
It worked for signs. It's just everywhere. But so like that's a kind of a creepy thing. Like, well, the authorities know what's happening clearly, but they're keeping everybody in the dark, looking for the answer. Show me something. It's a Hoobastank reference.
All right. So how are we gonna go player by person by person, team by team? What's the format for this?
Let's go person by person. But first of all, before we go any further, Travis and I, in our podcast and on the video recap, we discussed the points. And as we're watching the episode, we decided we noticed that there's a lot of driving.
Yeah.
And that driving has a lot of points. So
tweaks are necessary. We're still feeling out sort of the right way to score some of these things. And
so we went back and forth, like how do we do this, and so Travis was like, well, maybe only count like one set of driving per episode. But I was like, well, then like you're kind of missing out on points, but you don't want to give too many points because Travis earned a lot of driving points in this episode. So we decided to make a shift. We're going to do that at 2.5 for driving each time somebody gets into a car and starts driving. But if they're like on a road trip from here to New Mexico, Well, not from here.
Here to New Mexico would be terrible.
Awful.
But
they'd be dead. But if they're going from Los Angeles to the desert and the same person is driving that entire way.
Yeah, it's like the same trip over multiple scenes. That's one driving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right. And then so we had another kind of dispute last night. We talked about breaking and entering. That's one of our things.
I'll let you know. It got a little bit heated.
It did.
But we're all good now.
This is like our first real
professional bout.
creative junction. So breaking and entering. I think I won this argument. So just for sake of this,
I'll let you keep thinking that.
Breaking and entering is when somebody enters a place that they're not supposed to be illegally without consent of the person there. So that, furthermore, if they have consent to go into a place, but then they break into a part of that place that they're not supposed to be into, that's considered breaking and entering. I looked up a lot of law books and asked lawyers, and that they say that's breaking and entering. But busting open a locker inside a place isn't breaking and entering. That's closer to larceny and burglary. That's stealing. Even if there's an intent to steal, that's burglary. I'm just throwing out there. Google law tells me everything I need to know. Anyways, but what we did was we added looting. Looting it, which is how we went ahead and found it out.
This will all make sense in a minute.
This all makes sense. But Travis actually ended up earning 5 more points because of me arguing against him.
I appreciate that. You're looking out for my team.
Because I'm just looking for consistency.
Fairness and consistency.
That's right.
It'll pay off for you eventually.
Yeah.
We'll put all the updated points in the description and probably up on our site or something like that. But
it's breaking.
Without further ado, please, who is the first person that we will be featuring here?
All right, let's start with our favorite friend, Madison Clark.
Team Travis. All right.
Team T. First of all, 1 kill zombie.
Hey, yeah. Which the going average right now for episodes is 1 zombie kill per episode. So I'm hoping that's not a trend. I'm hoping that will ramp up as the season goes on. But right now, that's too low.
As your people become zombies.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Also, I'd like to say RIP to Principal Obama. Because that's exactly what that guy looks like. All right. So you got 2 points for driving a vehicle.
Couple of trips to and from the school.
Good job, Maddie. I had to rewind it a little bit because I was like, oh wait, was she just in the? Nope, she was driving. So she pulled up. 1 for breaking and entering. So what we did for breaking and entering for her specific was she entered a school. She's a teacher. Well, she's a guidance counselor there. She's legally there. Able to go, but she stole the keys from the principal's office and used that to break into the nurse's station, which is breaking and entering. So, 5 points there. She saves someone. She saves Tobias. That's it.
Yeah, I was cheering for that moment right there.
Yeah,
I was like, Tobias, he's gonna take that zombie out, and I'm gonna get no points.
One and
then. No, couldn't do it.
No.
So
no Tobias.
Cha-ching
points. And then finally, 5 points for looting.
All right.
You did it.
All right. New category, 3 points. So what does that put Madison's total score at?
That puts her total score at 5, 10, 15, 20, 25.
25 points for Madison.
25 points for Maddie.
Over to my side. 25 points. Who do we got next?
All right, we have Travis. We have you next.
Oh, still my team. All right.
And you're very, very productive. Travis drove a lot.
He did. He drove almost the entire episode.
Get in the car. Let's go. So I counted 3 times. So that's 7.5 points.
Okay, I will take it. 7.5 points. Thank you, Travis.
So we're going down the list here. You have no more points. Nobody else scored any points.
So that means Daniel, who was on my team, as well as Ophelia.
Yes.
Who are both introduced in this episode. We got to see them.
That's right.
But they did nothing other than. I mean, they took in those people, but I wouldn't say they saved them.
Yeah.
So
they didn't give you.
How did your team do?
My team spectacularly. After a great start in episode 1, which we didn't count the points. That was part of my breaking and entering argument. I gave up those points so we could break and enter. So far we just had Alicia. I just had one breaking and entering for Alicia. She entered her boyfriend's house even though the door was open. Breaking and entering, you don't need to use force as long as you go into a place without consent. So
I'll give it to you. You know what? They're pity points. I'll give them to you.
You would have if we.
If I come over to your house to record this,
but you have consent. You have consent.
That's true.
Her
parents didn't know that she was there, and they own the house, so she didn't have their consent. If it's a vampire situation, she didn't get invited in.
That's right. Zombie vampire rules 101.
Okay, so Alicia got you 5 points.
5 points for a grand total of 5 points.
5 points, Team
me.
Brandon.
Good thing Nick got his detox episode out of the way.
He's on the mend. he's ready to score next week.
Thank goodness. You have a grand total of 32.5 points.
Ding ding.
So officially, I would say, Travis, you win.
I win the week.
You win this week.
So that's 1 week win for me. We're gonna count weekly wins as well as total points at the end of the season.
That is correct.
So we'll have a couple of awards. We could both win and feel good about it ourselves.
And good news, guys. As a special treat, we have custom awards that we're going to do every week. I don't know if Travis is into it, but I'm going to. So for this week, I have a very, very special award. And my special award goes to Madison for the, let me make sure I have this down right. Most heartless award towards the Cruz family. Not only did she stop Alicia from going outside and potentially saving the neighbors across the street, but she also, so that blocks the Cruz,
from getting points.
From any points, right? But the person who died across the street, that's part of the Cruz family. That is the Cruz family. She let my cousin be murdered by a zombie. So Madison, you're a heartless asshole. You can believe it if you want.
You're an effective point getter, and I'll give you that. So thank you, Madison.
But you got an award. You got a Cruz award.
All right, guys. That's our week 1 wrap up. If you like this episode, please like the video. If you want to see more of this, you can subscribe. And then that's it.
That's it.
Go listen to our podcast. It's on iTunes and geekaid.com.
Stitcher.
All right, guys. That's it for this week. I am Travis.
And I'm Brandon.
We'll see you next time.